Joy was a modest housemaid, working tirelessly to care for her ailing mother. But one day her world collapsed. Her employer accused her of seduction, a false claim she never imagined. His wife didn't ask questions, didn't listen, she simply cast Joy out. With no savings, no home, and nowhere to turn, despair seemed inevitable. Yet in that darkness a stranger appeared, a billionaire, the son of the president. What unfolded was a story of heartbreak and hope, betrayal and redemption. Could a girl broken by lies rise again? Stay with this story and discover how Joy's darkest trial became the path to her destiny. The morning sun poured through the curtains of the sunny residence, spreading golden light across the rooms but leaving Joy in the shadows. She moved like silence itself, needed yet unseen. Only the faint swish of her faded wrapper and the soft clap of sandals against marble marked her presence. At 22, Joy had learned the discipline of silence. Her mother once told her, "When you are in another's house, let the walls hear your tears, not your tongue." And so she kept them swallowed. The sunny home was a duplex in a quiet Lagos estate. Its cream walls gleamed, the imported furniture stood polished, yet the air was heavy with suspicion and secrets. Joy had served there for 10 months, rising before dawn, preparing the children's uniforms, cooking breakfast, washing Agnes's clothes, and making sure the water never ran out. Agnes, the lady of the house, was a disciplined banker with sharp words and sharper heels. She was rarely home, leaving before sunrise and returning late, only sparing Joy a glance to hand over a grocery list or scold her for cold stew. Her husband, Femi, was always around. He claimed to run an online dropshipping business, but Joy noticed he spent more time lounging than working. In his upstairs study, he'd sit with a drink, laptop open and eyes drifting toward her. At first, Joy dismissed it as harmless. Maybe he just admired her diligence. But soon it became clear it wasn't respect, it was desire. She felt it in his long stares and the excuses he made to call her upstairs. "Joy, the air freshener is finished." "Joy, my charger isn't working." One afternoon confirmed her fears. While she bent to clean the bookshelf, his voice startled her. "You bend like a river, Joy, smooth flowing." She froze. Her sponge slipped. "You're too beautiful to be a maid. You know that, right?" he added. Joy didn't respond. She simply picked up her sponge and walked away, her heart pounding like thunder. From then on, she avoided him. No eye contact, clothes pulled tighter, distance at all times. But he only pressed harder. His words, his looks, his threats. Worse still was his transformation when Agnes returned. Before his wife, he was suddenly cold and harsh. "Joy, can't you sweep properly?" "Joy, this food is tasteless again." To Agnes, he was the irritated husband burdened by her presence. She never noticed his other side. In fact, she trusted him blindly, once saying over dinner, "My Femi may be lazy, but he's faithful. He can't even stand another woman's touch." Joy nearly dropped the soup she was serving. That night, alone in her small room in the servants' quarters, she stared at the ceiling fan whirling endlessly, echoing her restless thoughts. Should I tell her? Would she believe me? Or would it ruin me? She thought of her mother. Mama woke, lying weak in a distant village hospital. Her swollen feet a reminder of untreated diabetes. Every salary Joy earned had gone to buying her insulin. She had no savings, no backup plan. If I lose this job, Mama might not survive, she thought. Quiet tears soaked her pillow. She considered writing a letter but changed her mind. Instead, she turned to the wall, her silent witness. With each passing day, Femi's pressure grew heavier. His voice lowered to whispers. His eyes trailed her like shadows, and Joy's silence deepened. She moved carefully, hoping for strength or perhaps a miracle. One morning, Joy was already awake. In the kitchen, the kettle boiled as she fried eggs, buttered bread, and poured tea with practiced rhythm. It was like any other day, except her chest carried a weight she couldn't shake. Every corner of the house reminded her of moments she wanted to forget. The staircase corridor where Femi had whispered something cruel. The hallway near the playroom where he brushed against her back, pretending it was accidental. Joy had become a prisoner in the home she worked so hard to maintain. As she set the tray on the dining table, she felt his eyes. Femi stood by the window, arms crossed, watching. He wasn't smiling. He said nothing. But his stare made her skin tighten as if it no longer belonged to her. She turned away quickly. "Good morning, sir," she whispered. No reply. Only the weight of his gaze until she left the room. Joy's heart pounded. Every day, pretending grew harder. Once soothing tasks like washing dishes now felt like punishment. Even the children noticed. "Joy, why are you always sad?" Fa asked one afternoon while Joy braided her hair. She forced a smile. "I'm just tired, dear." But it wasn't only tiredness, it was fear, boiling inside her like a pot with no lid. Later that day, Femi called her to the upstairs study. She hesitated, but refusing wasn't an option. She knocked. "Come in," he said. He sat behind his desk, typing, not looking up. "I need you to clean the bottom drawer." Something spilled. She crouched, opened it, and found it empty. "There's no spill, sir," she said, turning toward him. That was when she realized he had moved. He stood close behind her, eyes fixed on her blouse, breath heavy. Joy jumped up, fear rising like fire. "Sir, please respect yourself," she said firmly for the first time, but Femi smiled. "I like bold women. Don't pretend you don't notice how I look at you. You're different from the others." Joy stepped back. "If you don't stop, I'll tell your wife." His smile vanished, eyes turning cold. "You'll tell Agnes?" "Tell her what? That her husband is chasing a maid? Do you think she'll believe you?" Joy's voice trembled but stayed steady. "I will tell her." He laughed quietly, the kind of laugh that chilled her. "Then be ready to leave this house in shame. I'll ruin your name, Joy. I'll make her believe you came after me, and she will believe me." Trembling, Joy turned and left. The rest of the day she stayed silent, eyes swollen from held-back tears. She didn't eat, didn't sing her usual hymns at the sink. Her thoughts raced. Will Madame Agnes believe me? Should I speak before Femi lies, or stay silent? But silence had already cost too much. That night she sat on her bed staring at the wall. The small back room where she slept felt even smaller. The ceiling fan spun slowly, as tired as her spirit. She thought of her mother, a gentle woman who had raised her with nothing but love and hardship. Dignity is worth more than silver, Mama used to say. But what dignity was left now? Joy picked up her phone, fingers hovering over her mother's number. She wanted to tell her everything, to hear her voice and cry like a child. But she lowered her hand. Mama was sick, why add more worry? Tears slipped down her face. The next morning, Joy dressed carefully. She wore a high-neck blouse and tightened her scarf. Looking in the mirror, her eyes were weary but held something new, resolve. Carrying the breakfast tray, she entered the living room. Madame Agnes sat on the couch, unusual for that hour. Joy's heart raced. Maybe this is my chance. Maybe I should speak. But before she could, Femi walked in holding tea, his expression grave. "Agnes," he began softly, "there's something I need to tell you." She looked at him. "What is it?" He sighed, then cast a false look of hurt toward Joy. "It's about this maid, Joy. She's been behaving strangely. I didn't want to embarrass her, but she's been trying to seduce me." Joy gasped. "What? That's not—" "Keep quiet," Agnes snapped, standing from her chair. "How dare you speak while a man is talking?" Joy's chest tightened. "Madam, he's lying." "He's the one who—" "Oh, please," Agnes cut in sharply. "I know my husband. He would never sink so low. Why didn't you say anything before? You wait until he complains and now you want to protect yourself?" Joy's throat closed up, her lips trembling. "Because I was afraid, madam. I knew no one would believe me." "You're right about one thing," Agnes said coldly. "No one will." She turned to the guards. "Take this girl out of my house. Let her carry her shame with her." Joy fell to her knees. "Please don't do this. Madam, I beg you. My mother is ill. I have nowhere to go." But Agnes had already turned away. Femi only watched, silent and satisfied. The guards dragged Joy to the gate like a criminal. Her bag was thrown outside and the gate slammed shut behind her with a loud bang. Joy stood barefoot in the street, humiliated, heartbroken. The only sound she heard was her own voice crying into a sky that gave no answer. The wind rose as the metal gates of the sunny residence closed firmly behind her. She stood under the weak glow of a streetlight, her small travel bag at her feet. Her hands shook, her eyes wet with tears fixed on the house where she had given 10 months of her life. 10 months of early mornings, silent patience, and hidden suffering. Now she was nothing more than a stain wiped away. For several minutes she stood frozen, her mind unable to grasp what had just happened. Agnes's words echoed in her ears. "Take your shame and go." And Femi's smug silence hurt even more than the insult itself. Her chest rose and fell as she tried to breathe, but all she felt was betrayal. Slowly, she bent down, picked up her bag, and took her first step into the darkness. The estate was quiet at that hour. Most people slept behind locked doors. Those still outside hardly looked at her, assuming she was just another visitor leaving late. But Joy had no one. Her phone buzzed weakly, its battery at 3%. It was her mother. She had sent a voice note earlier that day. Joy couldn't bear to listen. If she heard Mama's voice, she would break completely. "Where will I sleep tonight?" She didn't have an answer. She checked her purse. 50 naira. Not even enough for a bike ride, let alone a room or transport to Equilobia. Her final salary, due in a few days, was gone with her job. She walked past shuttered kiosks. An old gatekeeper turned her away when she asked for a place to wait till morning. "I no get wahala this night." "Go away," Joy kept walking. At the main road near the estate junction, cars rushed past, headlights cutting through smoke and dust. Neon signs flickered above locked shops. She found an abandoned storefront, its shutter half closed. Inside, it smelled of rust, urine, and old paper, but it was dry. And tonight, dry was enough. She dropped her bag, leaned against the wall, and pulled her wrapper tightly around her shoulders. Then she sat on the floor. For the first time in years, she cried out loud. Not silent tears, not muffled sobs in the servants' quarters, but real, aching, breathless crying. She wept for her sick mother, who would wonder why she hadn't called. For the job she lost, not through failure, but because she dared to speak the truth. For the shame she now carried, stained by lies that might cling to her forever. She cried until her body was too tired to continue. At last she lay on the cold floor trying to sleep. But sleep refused her. The night passed in fragments. She would close her eyes for moments, only to wake again at distant shouts, rattling buses, or the sound of her own name in a dream. By 5 a.m., Lagos was already alive. Traders pushed carts calling out their goods. A man nearby lit a cigarette, its flame glowing briefly in the dark. A group of boys ran past, laughing loudly. Joy sat up slowly, her back sore, her eyes heavy from crying. She rose, brushed the dust off her skirt, picked up her bag, and stepped into the dim morning light. She paused, realizing she had no plan, no destination, no clear idea of what came next. Yet a quiet voice inside urged her, "Keep walking. Don't stop." So she moved forward, following the road toward mile 2, hoping it would lead her to a bus station. Maybe she could plead with a conductor for a ride halfway to Equilobia, or at least find a shop where she could call her mother. She imagined explaining everything, breaking down in tears, and hearing her mother's prayer. Perhaps that would give her the strength to face the shame. But her body was failing. She had not eaten in nearly a day. Her legs weakened, her clothes carried dust, her scarf was stained, and her face showed the exhaustion of the long night. The road grew busier. Cars honked, buses rushed by, traders prepared their stalls. The city was awake, yet she felt invisible. Until suddenly she wasn't. She hadn't noticed the horn. Her mind was crowded with painful thoughts, her vision blurred by sleeplessness. She stepped into the service lane without realizing. A sharp screech, tires grinding. A black SUV swerved hard, stopping just inches from her. The driver leapt out, slamming the door. "Are you insane?" he shouted. Joy froze, her knees trembling. Her head dropped, too heavy to lift. She couldn't reply. "Do you want to die? Are you blind? You almost got yourself killed." Still silence. But something in her face caught him off guard. His anger softened as he took in her appearance. Her dusty wrapper, the worn travel bag, the streaked cheeks, the trembling hands, the dried tears from the night before. "Are you okay?" he asked again, now gently. Joy slowly raised her eyes. For the first time in hours, she met someone's gaze. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "No, I'm not okay." The man's tone shifted completely. He was tall, neatly dressed, polished shoes now coated with Lagos dust. Someone who looked out of place in this part of town. He stepped closer, cautiously. "What happened to you today?" he asked, calm and respectful. Joy tried to answer, but no words came. Her throat was dry, lips cracked, mind still reeling from the night before. She clutched the strap of her worn bag, shoulders hunched as if bracing against the world. The man noticed every detail. He exhaled and glanced around. The street bustled, cars, hawkers, pedestrians, but he saw only her. "Come," he said gently. "There's a spot down the road where we can sit. You need water, maybe food." Joy hesitated. Trust had long been broken, especially with men, especially after what Femi had done. But this man wasn't forcing her. He didn't raise his voice or lay a hand on her. He simply waited. Her legs ached, her stomach groaned, her head spun. At last she nodded. He led her quietly to a small cafe just opening for the day. The waiter looked at her with hesitation, but one glance at the man's watch and accent was enough to clear a table. Joy sank into the chair slowly. The man ordered bottled water and hot tea. "My name is Chicky," he said. "What's yours?" "Joy," she whispered. "Joy," he repeated softly. "A beautiful name, but today you don't look joyful." She gave a faint, bitter smile. "Because I have no joy left, the water arrived." Her hands trembled as she opened the bottle, drinking greedily. Her throat burned, her stomach twisted, but she welcomed the relief. And then, like a dam breaking, her story spilled out. She spoke of the lease, the betrayal, the harassment, how Femi abused his power, how Madame Agnes believed his lies, how she was dragged out like a criminal and left with nothing. She told of her sick mother in the village who depended on her, of sleeping under a shop roof with rats and mosquitoes, of nearly giving up that very morning, of almost stepping in front of the car and not caring. Through it all, Chicky said nothing. No interruption, no judgment. He simply listened. When her words ran out, shame filled her eyes. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said all that." "I don't even know you," he shook his head. "Don't be sorry. You've carried this pain too long. You needed someone to hear it." She lowered her gaze. "I don't know what to do anymore. I have nowhere to go." He tapped his fingers on the table thoughtfully. "What if for today you let someone help you?" She frowned. "Why would you want to help me?" He leaned back, looking at the sky for the right words. Sometimes the ones who deserve kindness most are the ones who never ask. The ones who keep going, who keep surviving. Even when they have nothing left, Joy's lips parted, unsure how to respond. "Come with me," he said softly. "Just for today, let me give you some rest." Joy froze. Her heart raced, alarms went off in her mind. She had heard this line before. "Let me help you." That's what Femi had once said. That was how it all began. "No," she whispered quickly, shaking her head. "No, I can't. I don't know you." Cheek nodded calmly. "That's fair. You're right to say no. But listen." He pulled out his wallet and placed an ID card on the table. It read, Chiki Odinaka, Director Co-Holdings. Beneath it was a signature and a crest she didn't recognize. "I won't touch you. I won't ask for anything. I just want to take you somewhere safe where you can wash, rest, and eat. After that, the choice is yours." She stared at the card. The name, the crest, the steady confidence. Something about him seemed different. Still, she hesitated. "You could be lying." Cheek smiled gently. "I could be. But what would I gain from lying to a girl who has nothing left? If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't need lies." He stood, placing Naira notes on the table for the tea. "I have a home nearby. If you feel uneasy, I can call a woman I trust. She'll stay with you until you decide to leave. But don't go back to the street, Joy, please." The cafe was now crowded. People were watching. Joy looked at her rough hands. She had nothing left to lose. Slowly, she nodded. Chaik gave her a warm smile, then led her outside to his SUV. She hesitated. Instead of opening the front seat, he opened the back door. "You can sit back here. Take your time," she climbed in. The engine started, and for the first time in days, Joy exhaled. Outside, the city rushed on. Inside, something stirred, not trust, not yet, but perhaps hope. The ride was quiet. Joy sat in the back, her hands clenched in her lap. The clean leather interior smelled of citrus and polish, nothing like the crowded buses she knew. The air conditioning cooled her sunburnt skin, but her heart still beat nervously. From behind, she studied Chike, focused, calm, both hands steady on the wheel. He didn't pry or push, and that unsettled her even more. Why is he helping me? What does he really want? She had learned that kindness from strangers often carried hidden costs. Yet something about him didn't feel like a trap. Still, she stayed guarded. They left the highway for a quieter area lined with trees. Soon they reached a gated compound. Guards saluted, pressed a button, and the massive black gates rolled open. Joy's eyes widened. The grounds were immaculate, cut grass, water fountains, sculpted flowers. The driveway led to a large cream-colored house, modern and peaceful. She had never seen anything like it. Chaik stepped out, opening the rear door. "Come in. You'll be safe here." Joy clutched her bag tightly and stepped out. A middle-aged woman in a clean apron approached. Her face was calm, her presence motherly. Auntie Ada, please take her inside. Give her something warm to eat and let her rest in the rose room, Chike instructed. Yes, sir, Auntie Ada replied respectfully. This is Madam Ada, Cheek told Joy. She's like family. She'll care for you. I'll be in the study if you need anything. Before Joy could respond, he walked away. Madame Ada smiled gently. Come, my dear. You need food and a bath. Don't be afraid. Joy followed in silence, still trying to make sense of everything. Inside, the house was even more beautiful. White tiles, glass doors, polished furniture, paintings on the walls, and a staircase curved like one from a magazine. Upstairs, she was led to a rose-scented room. The bed was large, with fresh sheets. A robe lay folded neatly with a towel beside a gleaming bathroom door. Take a bath. When you're done, food will be ready, Madame Ada said softly. Joy entered the bathroom and locked the door. She stared at her reflection. Dusty face, tangled hair, stained clothes. She hardly recognized herself, a girl worn down by life. She undressed and stepped into the warm shower. The first drop of water broke her. She cried, not from fear this time, but from release. Tears washed away Femi's lies. Agnes's betrayal, the cold nights on bare floors, the hunger, the humiliation, the despair. She stayed under the water for a long time. When she finally stepped out and put on the robe, she felt lighter, still unsure, still fragile, but cleaner, almost human again. Downstairs, a meal waited: fried plantain, white rice, pepper stew. She ate slowly, politely. Madame Ada watched with a kind smile. You are safe here, Joy. Eat and rest. When she finished, Madame Ada handed her a new gown. Olga purchased this earlier today. He mentioned needing a size fit for a small woman with a strong spirit. Joy's eyes widened. He bought this today? She asked. Madame Ia nodded. Yes. He said a storm might bring a special guest. That evening, Joy sat quietly in the rose room, gazing through the window at the garden. A light rain had begun, droplets sliding down the glass like soft steps. A knock broke the silence. She turned. It was Cheeky. He stood at the door with a calm smile. May I come in? She nodded. He entered and sat on a chair near the window. For a while, neither spoke. Then he said, I wanted to wait until you were ready before I explained anything. Joy looked at him. You're wondering who I am, why I helped you, why I didn't just leave you at a police station or hand you some money and walk away. She nodded again. Leaning forward, elbows on his knees, he continued, My full name is Chikoti Odinaka. I run an investment company called Co-Holdings, but that isn't the whole truth. He reached inside his jacket and pulled out a wallet showing her a clean ID card. It read Chik Odinaka, son of the president of FENA, Odinaka National Identity Commission. Joy's breath caught. You're the president's son, she whispered, stunned. Chike smiled gently. Yes, she stood up quickly, startled. Sir, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I didn't. He rose too, raising his hand. No apologies. You owe me nothing. Joy stepped back, her voice trembling. But why would someone like you stop for someone like me? His eyes softened. Because I've known brokenness. Maybe not the same kind, but I've felt pain deep enough to make you want to disappear. And someone once saved me without caring who I was. Now I try to do the same. Joy stared, unable to speak. You're not just a maid, Joy, he added. You're a woman with a voice, a heart, and a future. I see that. I see you, her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, he replied with a calm smile. Just believe this, your life isn't over. Not even close. It's only beginning. He turned to leave, paused at the door. Sleep well, Joy. Tomorrow we begin something new. Then he stepped out. Joy stood frozen in the room, overwhelmed. Looking down at her clean robe, her washed hands, and the untouched bed, she whispered for the first time in days. Maybe there is still hope. Outside, rain kept falling, cleansing the night. Inside, something new had begun to grow. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over Aoi, casting golden light across the mansion's windows. Joy had just experienced the most peaceful night of her life. For the first time in days, she wasn't afraid to sleep. She hadn't woken in fear or cried herself to exhaustion. Instead, she had rested under soft sheets in safety. When she awoke, she lay still, letting her eyes adjust, reluctant to leave what felt like a dream. But it was real, the silence, the calm, the warmth. She rose, wrapped her robe tighter, and opened the door to find Madame Ia waiting with a breakfast tray, boiled yam, fried eggs, and hot cocoa. "Good morning, Joy," the older woman said warmly. "Good morning, Ma." "Thank you," Joy replied softly. "You slept well?" "Yes, Ma. Better than I have in a long time." "Good. Olga asked me to tell you. Meet him in the study once you've eaten and dressed. He left something for you." Joy's heart skipped. "Left something for me?" Madame Ia smiled. "You'll see." Half an hour later, Joy came downstairs in a simple peach dress Madame Ia had laid out. Her hair was neatly brushed, her face refreshed. She walked toward the study with careful steps. The door was open. Cheeky stood near the window, hands in his pockets, gazing at the garden. He turned and smiled when she entered. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning, sir." "Let's forget the sir for now. Just call me Cheeky." She nodded, nervous but curious. He moved to the desk, picked up a black leather folder and handed it to her. "I want to show you something." Joy opened it slowly. Inside were neatly arranged documents. The first page bore her name. Certificate of Business Name Registration, Joyful Bites Catering and Events Limited. She gasped. Turning to the next page, she saw a stamped bank document for a new business account in her name. The third page was a land purchase agreement for a small shop in Saru. Joy looked up, confused. "I don't understand," Joy whispered as Cheek sat beside her. "You once told me cooking was your passion, that you dreamed of starting a food business one day." Her lips parted in shock. "But I only said that yesterday." He smiled. "That's all I needed to hear." Joy sat speechless. "I used the early hours of this morning to put everything in place," Cheeky continued. "There's $100,000 in your account. I've also arranged for a consultant to guide you for the first 3 months. She'll help with menus, pricing, hiring, permits, everything." Her eyes widened. "100,000? He nodded. "Cheeky," she whispered, her hand trembling. "I don't even know how to thank you. This is overwhelming." "It's not too much," he said gently. "It's only the beginning. What happened to you was unfair, but your future doesn't have to be defined by that pain. You are stronger than what tried to destroy you." Tears welled in her eyes. "Nobody has ever done something like this for me." Cheek reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black velvet box. He placed it softly in her hands. "Open it." Inside lay a simple silver pendant shaped like a dove in flight, graceful and free. He fastened it around her neck himself. "This dove represents hope, peace, and freedom," he said. "When you look in the mirror, remember that your story didn't end on that roadside. It began there." She sobbed then, not from pain, but from the weight of kindness. She clutched the pendant tightly, crying tears that only come when a heavy burden is finally lifted. Chike said nothing, just waited. When she finally looked up, her eyes were swollen but glowing. "I feel like I'm dreaming," she whispered. "You're not," he replied. "This is your life now. You're in control. Build it, protect it, and never forget what you've survived." She wiped her face slowly. "But Cheeky, why me? Out of everyone you could help, why stop for me?" He grew thoughtful. "Years ago, I went through a very dark time. People see the president's son and assume life is perfect. But I've had my share of struggles. One day, a woman I barely knew helped me at my lowest. She never asked who I was, never judged, she simply gave me kindness. I promised myself I'd do the same for others. When I met you, I knew I had to keep that promise." Joy covered her mouth, overwhelmed. "Thank you. I don't know what else to say." "Then don't," he smiled. "Just promise me you'll rise from this and someday help someone else." "That's all I ask, I promise," she whispered. Chike stood. "Good. Tomorrow a driver will take you to your new shop. You'll meet the consultant and we'll begin setting up your kitchen and branding. I won't be here for the next few weeks, work is calling me abroad. But I'll be watching from afar." Joy rose too, suddenly afraid. "Will I see you again?" He smiled gently. "When the time is right. Don't worry, our story isn't finished." Then he left, leaving her with the pendant around her neck, the folder in her hands, and a new world waiting for her. That night, Joy couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, staring at the stars. The cool pendant rested on her chest like a quiet promise. She was no longer a broken maid. She was reborn, and though she didn't know what tomorrow would bring, she knew one thing for sure. She would never be the same again. 3 weeks later, Joy stood outside her new shop in Shrew, watching as workers mounted the sign. Joyful bites, homemade goodness, heart-made dreams. The sun warmed her skin. Laughter drifted from nearby schoolchildren. She touched the dove pendant on her chest. Everything had changed. Inside, 2 girls she had just hired were wiping tables. Another was at the stove, learning how to prepare her special pepper sauce. These were girls like her, maids dismissed unfairly, hearts bruised, pasts broken. Now they had hope, and it all began with one man, Chike. He had left Lagos after helping her set up. Since then, he hadn't called or sent a message. She had no direct way to reach him. Still, she kept his card tucked safely in her Bible. Worn but precious, she thought of him every day, wondering if he would ever return, or if he had vanished like miracles often do, quietly and without warning. One evening, scrolling the news on her new phone, a headline froze her. Breaking news. President's son, Chike Odinaka, launches multi-million-dollar tech hub in Dubai. She clicked. There he was, in a navy suit, shaking hands with dignitaries, cameras flashing. Joy's heart pounded. Tears filled her eyes, not from pain this time, but from awe. The man who once sat across from her in a roadside cafe, who listened without judgment, who gave her dignity when she had none, was a prince in disguise. She switched off the screen, overwhelmed. The pendant on her chest felt heavier now, carrying not just silver but memory. 2 days later, she arrived at her shop early. A letter was waiting, delivered by private courier. No return address, just her name written neatly on the envelope. With trembling fingers, she opened it. Joy, by now you've probably seen the news. I told you I'd be watching from afar. You've done more than I imagined, not just building a business, but building people. I won't ask for thanks. This was never about me. It was about you discovering the strength you already had. The dove you wear isn't just peace, it's a promise. When you least expect it, I'll return. Not as a stranger, but as a friend. Until then, keep flying. Joy pressed the letter to her chest, smiling through her tears. Not every story ends in love. Not every prince stays to build a castle. Sometimes the most powerful love is the kind that gives you wings and lets you fly. She glanced outside. A young girl walked by barefoot, carrying a tray of oranges, eyes lowered. Joy opened the door. Sister, are you hungry? The girl turned, startled. Yes, Ma. Come in, Joy said softly. You're safe here. As the door closed, the dove pendant glinted in the morning light. Hope had not just flown home, it had found a place to stay. This story reminds us that our status does not define our worth. Sometimes the greatest transformations begin in pain, and when the world turns away, there are still people who carry the light of compassion. Above all, it teaches us that helping others rise without expecting anything in return is one of the purest and most powerful forms of love. What did you take from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. And don't forget, another inspiring story is coming in just a few days. So please subscribe and turn on your notification bell so you'll be the first to watch. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button and share it with your loved ones. Thank you for watching. God bless you.